Hello, everyone, and welcome to the RSA conference lightning talk, colorful AppSec, red, blue, or purple. My name is Erez Yalon. I'm the founder and mayor of the AppSec Village, and I'll be the moderator here today. In this session, we will hear from three experts. Each expert will speak for up to 7 minutes to share their perspective or big idea, one after another. Following all three presentations, we will have a QA session for the remaining time. You can write a question in the chat at any time. Feel free to do that. We like questions, especially good ones. Please specify if your question should be directed to a specific speaker. Okay, let's get started. So first in line, we have Pedro Umbelino. He's a security researcher, hardware maker, software breaker, red to the bones hacker, and actually a good friend. Pedro will share with us his red perspective. Take it away, Pedro.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be here at RSA 2021. I know the conditions are less than ideal, but still it's great to see conferences going above and beyond to deliver meaningful content. My name is Pedro Molino, as Erez told, and I've come to talk to you about red team exercises and the focus on AppSec. Now, I've done my share of red team exercises throughout the years, everything from Hollywood-style social engineering, designing and placing custom implants inside organizations, to less elaborate, but not necessarily less time-consuming network assessments, pen testing, code reviewing, software reverse engineering and exploitation, and so forth. What I really want to stress in this short talk is the following. Red teams and our general offensive security exercises are or should be the most realistic exercise that your company can make to stress test the ability to withstand and recover from real attacks. Let me rephrase this. Regular offensive security exercises are the most realistic security exercise your company can make. It does not matter how solid you think your defenses are. It does not matter how expensive is your software or equipment. It does not matter how many issues you solved in your SaaS report. It does not matter how agile is your DevSecOps implemented. And it does not matter how much money you put in your bug bounty program. I mean, all of those things, they help and they matter, but none of those matters if you don't actually test all your defenses in a real world scenario, because attackers won't play nice. Attackers won't respect your rules of engagement, nor your very well-defined scope. Attackers for sure won't focus only on your Android application and just leave the API servers alone. Attackers won't leave the database server untested because it's off scope. That won't happen, and that's why you should care. Now, this is where I think red teams shine. We think like attackers. We go beyond CVSS, the high, low impact vulnerability classifications, or bug bounty scores and rewards. We know malicious attackers are always innovating, figuring out new attack vectors, and so are we. They constantly search for new vulnerabilities, how to exploit them, how to stay undetected, new ways to deploy phishing campaigns, and so are we. As a red team, we will be, hopefully, your first wave of highly motivated and skilled attackers. Now, in AppSec, red team exercises are often viewed as, some sort of code auditing or review, application pen testing, and in some cases, a bug bounty program that is limited in scope and time. But it can be and should be much more than that. Because as red teamers, we became users and we aim for administrators. We explore in depth your application ecosystems and how all the pieces interconnect and the potential vulnerabilities and risks associated with those vulnerabilities. Because some risks may not even have a CVSS score worth of mention, but the PR cost would just be too much, for example. And this is something you probably will not catch on a bug bounty or code review. We are attackers that care about your organization and try to figure out how to inflict harm in every possible way before others do. Now, I'm not trying to remove value from bug bounty programs. They have their intrinsic value. In my case, sometimes even between engagements, I occasionally participate in bug bounties for fun and profit. But here's the thing. I received bounties on critical issues more than once, and until this day, I still had no idea what the application was really for. I just knew I shouldn't be able to perform certain operations without ever even being authenticated, like delete all users or forward arbitrary reports to the internal network, for example. But I never really understood what I was attacking, nor I had the perspective of the company core businesses or the risks they prioritize. So in the sense, I was not actually worried about the organization. I just wanted a quick and nice bounty. And this is where I think red teams differentiate, at least in my conception of what a red team should be. We become users of your applications and explore them in depth from all angles. We try to understand your user base and business models to have a clear view of what's at stake. And we strive to make your company safer while understanding your organization values and cultures. And that goes beyond an on-off engagement. Red team assessments for organizations are clear. They can have a snapshot in time on how secure they are at that moment. They can measure how well DevSecOps is benefiting their code. They can compare different SAST and code analysis tools for performance in real world. And importantly, organizations can identify new risks that were not in the original threat and attack models. So in this way, they can reliably assess their state of readiness when a threat actor decides to attack. And all of this, it's critical information for decision makers to properly plan for the future and can hardly be obtained by other means except for realistic attack exercises. A red team exercise is not just about discovering the organization weaknesses. And it's really an attempt to employ lateral and outside of the box thinking regarding the overall security of the organization and its business. In a way, it's a statement, and it's a clear effort from the organization to understand their current security stance and to continuously improve it while going forward. It's a commitment to secure development now and for the future. If you take anything along with you regarding this talk, I hope it's the following. Red teams and the regular offensive security engagements are the most realistic security exercises your company can make security-wise. And in my opinion, one of the best ways to measure and prepare for a real-world attack with all its implications. And that's my presentation. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Pedro. That was concise and clear. I think we see your perspective now. So our next speaker is Luis Gomes. Luis is the one that got away from AppSec to the boardroom. He was born a security fanatic. Now he's a CISO by night, with 14 years in big tech and banking, blue teams, moving now to a more managed, focused role. Luis will share his blue perspective for this lightning talk. Go ahead, Luis.
First of all, thank you so much for joining. So, like Eric says, this transition from being Pedro in the last slide to being this guy that is worried about red teams that I pay and red teams that are paid for themselves with ransomware is something that keeps me up at night at various degrees of criticity. Moving forward, I'm going to try to present to you the advances that we made on Blue Team and why should we care about this precious exercise that we are doing as of now in our companies of keeping our data secure, and how really seriously can we take the Blue Team as of now that we are approaching a multi-layered, more AI-focused driven security, right? So as you can see, the evolution was pretty clear. When we started this exercise of Blue Team, we were very basic in terms of perimeter security. We would leak logs the entire day and watch events. So we still believe that even if we targeted by somebody like red teams or the general hacker, we would be able to react faster than he's able to breach us. We then moved to a scenario where there is more than just computers on a desk. We have laptops and we have computers that travel with us at various degrees. So we needed to have, with an increase of data, we needed to have an approach that would single out a more concise view over so many events happening per second. With this came what we know today as a CMs, the orchestration, the threat sharing. And that was still, I would say, basic, because up until this point where you see the third figure to the fourth figure, and even to the fifth one, we still are perceived as a reactive security, right? So one of the things that stuck with me from what Pedro said was that this is a real engagement. This gives you a snapshot in time of what is being secure at a certain degree. And that is important for us in one specific point, which is, can we see Blue Team without the word stopping attackers, right? Why are we always reacting to something or prepared for something, but we are not a step ahead? And when I mean a step ahead, it's not just leveraging red teams or purple teams. Is more, can we predict consciously what are our risks and move in that direction with multi-layer orchestration that you see on the last picture? What I mean is, can we build on top of not only AI, but on the creativity side of the defense team to engage the defense layer in the attackers need to understand us, and therefore they need to prepare for the unknowns versus us, the blue team that is prepared for the unknowns of the attackers. This happens a lot of times, and you can see this, for example, in the world that we see today. Ransomware is still using the old tricks, but is abusing the fact that we are not doing either the basics right or we don't react in time. That's why you see regulatory measures such as GDPR and others that forces to have a certain amount of time to declare a breach, because they want us to do better as blue team. And our blue team is depending on one specific factor as of now. Are we able to sustain the advances of AI and become the creative part of security? Up until this point was only red teams creating I would say the new things, right? So it's our time to create the new things by measuring patterns. And humans are just that. Like we can measure our patterns having the leverage of purple and red teams and creating our own unknowns. And leveraging creativity from humans will be what bridge the gap between what we are doing today and flawly, making bad decisions of just being reactive, to not only shifting left, but to shifting to the unknown, where the attackers don't even understand the security measures that we applied, right? I guess that is an utopia, but it's a reality that I see building on many companies, such as Netflix and others are really building these types of scenarios where we can see people, when they are trying to measure the security of companies at that scale, they try to breach at one point, but then they are prepared for the basics and they are prepared for the unknowns. And I would, if you have to keep something from this conversation, I would strongly emphasize that keep creativity with us, the blue team, versus with everybody else.
Excellent. Thank you, Luis.
Yes.
We will take that with us. Okay, so now it is my pleasure to introduce our third expert, Tanya Janka. Tanya is the CEO and founder of We Hack Purple. And to unite us all in one common goal and share her purple perspective, please go ahead, Tanya.
Awesome. Could you put up my slide, please? Amber, thank you. Hi, I'm Tanya Janka, and I'm going to talk about Purple Team, which I consider collaborative security. So when I started in security as a pen tester, I had been a software developer, I became a pen tester, and then I discovered that application security was sort of the umbrella that goes over the entire thing to make sure that your software is secure. So I could not only do security testing, not as advanced as maybe our friend over here on the red team, but verifying all the basics and that there's nothing grossly incorrect that should not be there. And then also on the other side, that I could defend, again, like our blue teamer friend, that I would be able to, implement different security tools, different defenses, work with the devs to teach them this is the better way to do this thing so that I don't catch you further down the line. Or by the time our red team friend shows up, we make them work very, very hard on their engagement to find things, because any red teamer will tell you they got to find something. And if they don't find something, they get really stressed out. Awesome, my slides are coming. So if you could show all of the things, if you could press the next button, Amber. So in order to be good at AppSec, you have to actually be good at empathy and advocacy. I know that sounds a little bit weird and people might object a little bit. They're like, it's not about soft skills, but it actually is. So when you're a red teamer, you can come in and you can just destroy things and do an amazing job. And then you have to articulate super clearly what you did and hopefully help them fix it. But if you're doing like blue team and red team, you not only have to explain and articulate super clearly what's going on, you actually have to empathize. So you have to look at, okay, so the devs have this deadline of next Friday. I want them to fix the 57 things that we found and implement this new tool. However, they still have to meet the deadline. So where can I find sort of like a space in between? Is it possible to move their deadline? Is it possible to take out one feature from this deadline and then add in the security that I need? So there's not only empathy between like the security team and getting what they're done, but also what the devs need to get done. And then advocacy is actually convincing them to put up with all of security's things that we're trying to tell them to do. So the devs are like, I want to make cool features and release awesome stuff and make my customers happy and excited and loving this thing I built. And it's not that they don't want to create secure software, they definitely do. But us advocating for the things that we need on the security team is really important. Whether it be like to the project manager, whether it be to the client, etc. We're that person that helps make sure that everyone understands where we're coming from and everyone gets the things they need, and we don't release software that is a giant pile of steaming vulnerabilities. So I consider AppSec or Purple Team specifically to be that bridge between security and devs. So you can have an amazing blue team person and they work with the devs a lot. They also work on their own a lot. I feel that the Purple Team person, not only are we hopefully trying to hire and recruit an awesome red teamer to come in and do an engagement, we're hoping that we have blue team people either on our team or that work closely with our team. But we are trying to make sure we build that gap, or that we fill that gap, that there's no longer two different silos, dev and security, but that we have this person in between that makes sure that we actually get things done together. Number 3 is people, process, and tools. You can't do a good job of AppSec if you have no tools. You just can't. Whenever I hear someone say, well, you could just write your own, I'm like, yeah, if you want to reinvent the wheel constantly. Sometimes you do write scripts or you adjust things or you customize things so they're just right for you. But tools and people, so like nothing gets done without people, obviously, and then processes that actually work. This is a part that sometimes the security team misses. Like, and by sometimes I mean I see it a lot in a way that is almost like, I don't want to say negligence, but like they just haven't had the empathy to think about a dev can't do 23 steps to get a scan approved that they don't give a crap about having done, right? We need to make these processes that actually work, provide tools that again work and that the devs actually understand how to use, whether that be because we've trained them or because the tool is actually really easy to use. And then we need to enable these people to get these things done that we want from them. And then the last one, if you want to be good at Purple Team, or if you want to be good at Red Team, or if you want to be good at Blue Team, is you have to keep learning. So you, all of you right now watching this, you're attending RSA. So that is you doing continuous learning, like you continuing to perfect and hone your skills. Continuous learning for the Purple Teamer means if the devs are bringing in a new technology and they're going to get a training on it, you go to it. You want to know what's up, you want to know what they're doing, and you want to make sure that you are on board with everything that's happening. You want to make sure that you are well aware of not only the new technologies that are coming in, but you also have to learn how to secure them and what the best practices are. And then you have to help the devs learn those best practices for security. You need to help the blue team person make sure that, so like this new thing's coming in, hey, could you help me make sure we lock it down correctly? This means with the red teamer, when they come in and they present this really kick-ass report that's super amazing and awesome, that the devs understand how to fix those things and hopefully understand how to make sure those specific issues don't happen ever again. And that is what I believe the Purple Team's responsibility is, and it's pretty complicated. I know a lot of people will talk about Purple Team exercises when you bring a red team in, so not just one person, usually a bunch of them, and a blue team in to defend, and you have basically like a huge an exercise that's really, really cool, and that's awesome. However, I believe the Purple Team has a lot more to do than arrange one Purple Team exercise per year. I believe there's just so much more that they can provide as value. And I know that, you know, empathy and advocacy, a lot of people are like, they're like, this isn't to talk about soft skills, but you're going to suck at AppSec if you can't understand where the devs are coming from, if you can't understand where the red team person or blue team person's coming from. Like, listen, we can only afford one tool, so you have to pick wisely. If you can't empathize with that, you're going to fail. I'm seeing that there's some questions, and I'm not sure how much time I have left. If someone could put in the chat how much time I have left, I will or will not address that question. But 30 seconds remaining. Okay, so no. So I'm Tanya Janka. I'm super obsessed with the idea of how we can create secure software. I'm really excited to be here. I'm really excited that the AppSec Village travels now to different conferences. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you not only to the person running this, Erez, but the two other amazing speakers who had so much awesome stuff to say.
Thank you so much, Tanya. So let's move to our Q&A session. I think we have some time to get some good questions and to get the discussion going. Tanya, we can start with you and with the question that we got from Mr. David Sopas here. So let's talk about security champion programs. Is it something that you think can help educate people?
100%. So I'm super obsessed with the idea of security champions. I personally believe that there's never going to be enough security people to get done all the things that we need, and we're never going to be able to be in every single dev meeting. And so asking for volunteers and recruiting people who are interested in security, preferably one from each team, and then teaching them all the stuff that you wish they would know. So all of the policies, all of the processes, all of, like, if you, for instance, can afford a trainer to come in but can't afford to train everyone, you train those security champions. You meet with them once a month, you talk to them. So what have you been working on? What are you going to work on? Do you have any problems? How can I help you? And they will tell you all the secrets. It's really, really helpful. And then they proliferate and share your message. So they become a securities advocate. There'll be that person in the meeting that says, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't roll our own crypto. Tanya told me that that's bad. And so, yeah, I definitely agree that security champions would be so helpful to educate people, educating the champions and then having them educate, for sure. I totally agree, David.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm going to take this question and move it to Luis with some small change. So, out of your experience with the big companies and security teams you've been to, if we look at security champions or blue teams, doesn't it make a situation where developers say, okay, security is not me, it's the problem of the champion, or it's the problem of the blue team. Let me just do my stuff here.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that is how the conversation starts. It's how Tanya exemplified. People tend to think in silos in the beginning. They think, okay, I will do code, and then somebody else. Even now, we are more advanced. They will think that somebody else will check the code, will put something in Jira, and tell me what I need to fix, right? But that takes time, and time costs money for the company. And if everybody's on board with making secure software from the gates, then it should be a concern of everybody. But it's a conversation that takes time, and you need to accommodate different ways of telling the developers how they can win. In the past, we had a lot of failures in our end, which was the wall of shame. Like, you had this amount of security vulnerabilities. Now, moving forward, what the blue teams are doing is, like in my organization, what we are doing currently is every Monday we create a report based on the vulnerabilities introduced on the code, and we call it Road to Success. And we measure how much time would you take to watch these videos, the content that are appropriated to the type of vulnerabilities that you are introducing on the code. And if you watch this video, of 5 to 3 minute video, how much time would save you, because now with the acquired knowledge, you will no longer introduce that type of vulnerabilities on the code.
Okay. That's yeah. That this is actually part of what you mentioned, the evolution on your part, and I think that Tanya had the same thread of evolution throughout her talk as well. So that's really nice to hear it from the both of you. Pedro, I'm going to take you a bit hands-on, if you don't mind.
Sure.
What are well, I want to talk about challenges, and I'm not sure if I want to talk about the challenges for the red teamer or the organization. Let's start with you, with the red teamer. What are your challenges as a red teamer?
I mean, there are a lot of different challenges to overcome. Many of them, if you are a red teamer, you're familiar with the issue of scope definition and rules of engagement. But I would like to talk about a slightly different topic, which is quite trending on the news lately, which is ethics while phishing. There have been some phishing campaigns that the context of the emails while phishing was salary bonus or promotions, and then on the news it was discussed if this was an ethic thing to do or not. And I think ethics is a real challenge, but so the entire exercise. So the exercise should be valid. And if you think about the phishing campaign, like only sending an email to an user and see who falls for it, so to speak, yeah, that's not a real thing. But if you think about the phishing campaign under the umbrella of social engineering and a red team exercise, then this is much more, because awareness sessions should be promoted, success metrics should be analyzed, defenses should be evaluated. This should never be about who actually clicked the malicious link. We should be empathetic with those persons, because it's in the end, it's the company that's failing. And it's not only about that, it's about how that email ended up in the user's mailbox in the first place, and what defenses are in place to limit those events. And even if the user clicks the link, how up to date is your infrastructure, how segmented it is, how resistant to attacks it is. So it's about how many users were driven to click the links, and how many have you reduced as a company from previous year? Are you promoting the right security mindset in people? Are you doing training programs? So I think this is one of the trendiest challenges now, ethics while red teaming, at least for the red teamers part, to actually, design a proper exercise that doesn't fail on the ethics commission.
So if I need to bring another twist to that question, do you think the problem with the ethics is that we always want a bit more, even if we know that we are crossing the line, or maybe even beyond crossing the line? Is it something that is hard for us to stop and say, okay, I had enough? Or is it something that you learn to do as you mature as a red teamer?
For sure, because this discussion was not so widely on the internet. And yes, of course you mature. It's about your lack or your sense or lack of it. But I don't think the problem is the things that you actually say. How do you drive people to take action? The problem is people shouldn't actually feel bad about it afterwards. Of course, there are limits. There are some legalities and things that you should not address. But for example, the salary bonus example, it's a good example because people, you are giving false hopes and expectations. But in the end, if that's explained, or even before, if that's explained as a potential attack vector, and people feel like they are part of making the organization more secure because they understand how attackers work, I don't think people will actually feel that bad if they ended up clicking a link, because they already knew the types of exercises that were going to be in place. As Tanya said, it's all about being empathetic and having soft skills to explain our coworkers what happens in these kinds of exercises. What should we expect, instead of ending up feeling bad or feeling like the guy that actually clicked the link ended up being responsible in the eyes of the upper management, which, by the way, it should never happen. It's always the company's fault.
Yeah, that's this is something that that comes a lot in conversation, and I think that a lot of professionals agree that it's actually the company's fault or challenge or job to make sure that it does not happen.
Yeah.
But yeah. So there are a couple of questions, Elsa, from the chat around education and training, and also a question about Luis. Let me give it to you. Can you be productive, in your case, blue teamer, if you don't have much development experience? Does one have to start with plenty of development experience? And obviously, we're talking, our focus here is AppSec, but maybe also, you know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I did some other presentations where I think that people should look at Blue Team for AppSec as an abstract layer. Like you don't need to know everything. Of course, being familiar with the application allows you to have way more assumptions than, I mean, way more certainties than assumptions. But you should know the flows. Like if you understand what the user can do, then you can define and upscale what the user should be doing. Then you are already set to be I would say a minimum to basic good blue defender. The reason why I say that is that attackers or people like Pedro will find ways to mimic the normal behavior. Depending on the level of skill of the attacker, is able to mimic exactly what you expect to see on the application and still pass the security measures. And your ability to detect what is the outside of norm pattern of usage in the application is not defined, but how good you are as a developer, meaning how much do you know about the product that you are using and that you are defending, and can you be the first layer of defense? This happens a lot of times. Like we have customer support centers that tell us, look, I was able to, I don't know, push some credits without the proper authorization. Is this normal? And they are not developers at all. They just like, this is outside of the normal behavior. And we're like, right, let me just put this on the roadmap. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good scenario because you know, it happens all the time. We call it beginner luck, but it's not really beginner's luck. And I think that Ira said it correctly. Sometimes you need someone with kind of new eyes or a new perspective. Sometimes being a newbie, it actually helps you to clear all the biases, and that's really interesting. So while we get more questions, Tanya, I want to get you to the to the beginning of your talk. You mentioned processes and dev and sec and ops and soft skills and everything. It used to be very, very clear to me what AppSec is, what application security means. How do you define it? What is Tanya's definition to application security?
Every single thing that you do to ensure that your software is secure, I consider to be part of AppSec. So that can mean a dev that listened to a podcast on the weekend and they're like, yeah, apparently there's this vulnerability in this framework we're using. I heard it's really scary. Like, maybe we should update, right? It could be that. It could be running a formal AppSec program where you have a secure system development lifecycle. Every single phase, you have a security activity, at least one. It could be, you know, the devs taking over and deciding to add security themselves because the security team mostly ignores them. It can be something the security team do to the devs that the devs don't appreciate. Like, here's NIST. I expect you to memorize it. Or here's ASVS from OWASP, the Application Security Verification Standard. I expect you to somehow memorize those 87 pages, all of the entire spreadsheet, and then apply it to every single app you're doing. And the devs are like, I don't even understand what this says. How am I supposed to do this, right? And so there's AppSec that goes better and AppSec that does not go as well. But I consider it the field within computer science of ensuring that you're building secure software.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, with just a few minutes left. Oh, sorry.
Do we get to hear your definition?
It's in progress at the moment, to be honest. I'm in between definitions, and the reason is that I used to be very traditional, and my mind was split open to the entire idea of infrastructure as code and everything around it. I think I'm evolving in a way. I'm just not sure to what. So I promise next sandbox, next RSA, let's do this again. I will have something
Yeah.
ahead of.
I would like to just give this last thought as the guy that is representing blue team, which sometimes is the most silent one. Normally, the guys that get the medals are red teams because they are the guys that break what we do. And the purple team are the people that are conveying ideas and making this more seamless approach. And the blue team normally has like a big saying on the wall that is security is always too much until the day that was not enough. And I would just want to let you leave the talk with the sense that we are evolving. So this is for all the red teamers. Just expect the unexpected from us. It's all I have to say.
This is excellent. And Pedro, I want maybe a last sentence from you with a quick question of how do I know that my organization is ready for a red teamer like you to punch me in the face, basically?
How do you know it's ready? Well,
I'll tell you why, because many people tell me, no, I cannot bring a red teamer because I know that a lot of low-hanging fruit are not fixed yet. So should we wait? Should we get you from the beginning?
No.
When do we get you?
A red team is not just an on-off engagement. It should be, it's something that you build for the future and you do regularly. So you better start doing it, because otherwise, how do you measure your own success while fixing your stuff, right? So there's really not a waiting period, a maturity period. So you should do a red team exercise. You should do it as soon as possible, in my opinion. So the more measures you get from past exercises, the better for you to understand how you are evolving in terms of security.
Excellent. I'm really happy about this discussion, to be honest. I think I learned a lot myself. I hope that our attendees learned as well. I think that the similarities between the perspective, agendas, whatever, are much greater than the differences. And I think that the philosophy behind it of everyone needing to be evolved and involved. Just want to leave you with something tiny that I have from my experience. I find myself a lot of times talking to to organizations, and when I come in, the entire R&D is in front of me. My first question sometimes is, when I do this exercise, is who here is in charge of security? And then I have 2 or 3 arms usually going up, and they can explain why. By the time I end my talk, I usually ask again, so who is here in charge of security? Usually around this time, about 95 to 99% of the hands go up. So this is a success. And even if you're a breaker, a maker, a developer, a QA, finance, no matter what, I think all of us have some blue, some red, and some purple in us. And I think this is our way to win, basically. So thank you so much for our guests. That was a real pleasure. Thank you for the attendees. Thank you for RSA Conference Sandbox hosting the AppSec Village. And see you in future events, hopefully face-to-face. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.